I'm Pastor Jeremy Combs, and we're looking at the doctrine of the divine in the book of Deuteronomy. Well, we're getting into a brand new chapter again this week. We're in chapter number 21, and we're kind of going through some practical things. Some highly applicable to us, others maybe not so much. We think of warfare as we come to chapter 20, and we looked at that in a two-part series yesterday. And obviously, I don't think many of us are soldiers, although we thank God for those men and women who are willing to serve and give their life. But it also may not maybe be a military function, but we can apply these areas to our lives. Now we come to we start ramping up some areas where we're really talking about life. Life was a big part of the idea of war and whether to go or not. Chapter 21, not verse 21. Gets again into an unknown murder, maybe an unsolved mystery. And then we get into marriage and property and rebellious children. And God's just going to go and cover the gamut. And I'm so glad that the Word of God is practical. You say, yeah, but it doesn't tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, and like putting together a table or a shelf. It doesn't give me the step-by-step process. Well, actually, it does. It just doesn't give you the specifics laid out in the Bible. It didn't tell me to come to Lyford, Indiana. Lyford's not even in the Bible. But I'll tell you what, in essence, it did, because it directed my steps of obedience and following God and the callings of God. And so that's how the Bible truly works. And so as we come to these final 15 chapters in the book, I hope you're not thinking these to be too tedious. I do think it's interesting as you look at the application, and we'll try to keep applying it to your life. So here we go, verse number 1 of chapter 21. If one be found slain in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. Okay, so remember, they're not there yet, but once they get there, and it is their land, this is extremely important, and they come across a dead body. Unfortunately, that still happens today. And what do? They do an investigation. And hopefully it is a thorough investigation, as it should be. Although some of us have been disenchanted by the fact that sometimes men don't always seek the truth as diligently as they should. Sometimes there's cover-up. Sometimes there's just an indifference to it. God says don't be indifferent to that life. In fact, he's going to say, if you find that body lying in the field, and it be not known unto him that hath slain him. Obviously, if it is a slam dunk, there's witnesses, they saw who killed this person, that's easy to take care of. But say you're going down the trail and you look over into the weeds and there's a body of a person and they've been killed and you can't figure out who did it, what do you do? Then thy elders and thy judges shall come forth. So there's two groups of people that are to come together. Obviously, the judges, we would think that would make sense, those that are going to judge over the land. But then there's also the elders. And that is, as we get older in life, our appreciation for life and our soberness for life should so increase that we want to help be a part of protecting it and making sure that people know that it is precious. And so the elders and judges, they come forth, and they'll measure unto the cities which are round about to him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is next unto the slain man, even the elders of that city, shall take a heifer, which hath not been wrought with, and which hath not drawn in the yoke. So I'm going to pause just briefly here. They would find out what city was closest. And whichever city was closest, they would have, we would say today, jurisdiction, or they would take the matter into their own hands, because this murder was a blot, was a problem, was a sore in the land of Israel, and they needed to deal with it. And so what do? They go, they get a heifer, they get a calf that hath not been wrought. That is, he hasn't been harnessed, he hasn't been yoked, he's not like out in the fields getting wore out. I mean, he is fresh. That's what life is all about, is it not? Life is a wonderful thing. And as we age, I think we recognize life is fragile because we get fragile. We begin to wear glasses where we used to not have to. We begin to, our knees, we can't bend, our shoulders, etc. And so we find here, he wants an example of life and its zeal. So get you a heifer that has not been yoked, that has not been harnessed. And the elders of the city shall bring down the heifer unto a rough valley, which is either neared nor sown, and shall strike off the heifer's neck there in the valley. Whoa! So they will come to a place, and it can't be a place that they have farmed, that they have harvested. It's got to be kind of in a wilderness. And then what they do is they take that heifer and they cut off the cow's head. Amazing. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near for them. And the Lord thy God hath chosen to minister unto him and to bless in the name of the Lord. And by their word shall every controversy and every stroke be tried. And so the priests come as well to this. They're reminded that these are sons of Levi. And as they come, they're coming for two things. They're going to minister for those who are grieved that this would happen. Boy, are we grieved when life is lost. I feel like we've lost that in our nation. Unfortunately, I think video games, movies, television shows, we I don't want to say kindly, we glorify violence. And God says that it ought to be something that is, it's not a pleasant subject to us. Does it happen? Well, of course it does. But this is where the priests come and they minister and they bless in the name of the Lord. They're doing all of this because they don't want to lose the blessing of God. Boy, doesn't that change the reason and maybe some of the motives as to why what we watch, what we listen to, what we read? Do we want the blessing of God in our life? You say, "Oh, it's just a little bit. It's just this. It's just that," and you leave that between you and the Lord. But I think the predominant question that needs to come into your mind is, will this cause me to lose the blessing of God? Because you don't want to lose that blessing. And all the elders. And so notice, and by their words they shall make, they'll settle every argument, every conflict. Maybe it is you hear some things about where is this guy from. So there is a thorough investigation into this, and all the elders of the city that are next unto the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer that is beheaded in the valley. My mind immediately went to this. They would wash their hands and say, we're innocent of this blood. It makes what Pilate did even more, you know, more confounding, more exasperating. That these guys would obviously come, and as the heifer's dead body is laying there in the field, they would then probably, I'm assuming, have a basin of water, and then they would wash off their hands, and basically they would say, we don't know who killed that man, and so we're using this heifer as a sacrifice to cleanse our land and to receive God's blessing and have it restored. And as a symbol before God, we are innocent. And so Pilate, in essence, kind of uses that practice. And obviously, when he washes his hands of the blood of Jesus, he's guilty because he is an eyewitness. If these priests or these elders knew who had killed this man, then that curse from the land would then abide upon them. And so, as they come together, it's their sacred responsibility to say that I'm innocent and cleanse my hands. And they shall answer and say, our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. So, God puts both together, the hands that murder and the eyes that see it. And we need to be willing to come forth. And I think we ought to be willing to testify and be a witness, no matter how difficult the situations may be. Be merciful, O Lord, unto thy people Israel, whom thou hast redeemed. And lay not innocent blood upon thy people of Israel's charge, and the blood shall be forgiven them. So, as they finish up, they're going to say, our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it, according to verse 7. Then they offer up a prayer, and they ask for the mercy of God, and that he has already shown them because he has redeemed them. What a merciful thing God is. He has redeemed us from our sin. And even when we fail and we stumble and we fall, the just man rises again 7 times because God gives us the mercy and the grace that we need. And lay not innocent blood upon the people of Israel's charge. And then it says this, the blood shall be forgiven them. That if they will do this, that God will forgive them. What a process. You said, well, that'd be a lot of work. That, of course, you would have to sacrifice a younger heifer that hadn't been used yet, so the price is there. And then you think about the time that it's going to take and the effort. But I tell you what, time, money, and effort are always worth it in order to be right with God and to have his blessing. So shalt thou put away the guilt of innocent blood from among you, when thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of the Lord. Hey, we live in a violent land today. There's no doubt about that. In a violent world, may we bring the blessing of God into our churches, into our homes. How do we do that? By doing what is right. May we value life as God has valued it. And may we be careful when we get around violence and we get around things that take life and make it cheap. And may we stand up, maybe get rid of some things and do what is right. Tell you, go on the offensive. How do you go on the offensive on this? Well, you go on the offensive by uh, going and working with the real life, and that is the eternal souls of people. What have you done this week to tell someone about the Lord? I was at a store and shopping cart guy stopped me, and I had the church van, so he knew who I was, a church person, and he just talked about how would you pray with me that I'll have opportunities that I can talk to people even while I'm here at work. I think that is a wonderful thing. We ought to be looking for those, because I tell you what, we can stand for physical life as we should, and yet those lives are eventually going to die. They're going to pass away, and then if they have not received true life in Jesus Christ, their death is going to be eternal. And so be a part of the process of life, value it, and be a voice that proclaims that life, true life, can only be found in Jesus. Well, we will stop there. Next time we will wrap up chapter number 21. Hey, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.